Okay, folks, welcome to my third and possibly final video on Yaira number 1. When you are reading a story, you should not be asking why every other minute. You should be enjoying the story. You should be engrossed in the story. You should be drawn in by the story, but the story should not be making you ask why over and over again, unless it's like a mystery story or a detective story and you're actually trying to solve a case or something like that. But when you're just reading a straight up action adventure story like Yaira is, you should not be getting a whole bunch of why questions. And what I found covering the next 20 or so pages of Yaira number 1 is I had to ask myself why over and over and over again, and I really haven't gotten much in the way of answers or rationalizations, as you might put it. So let's talk about what I have seen over the last 20 pages, and I have to backtrack a little first because this is the scene where these four characters, particularly the one on the left, whose name is Stefania, are introduced. Now, these four characters came up while Yaira was watching the newscast about herself and the interview with Brian Solari, and all of a sudden we get this transition to this room where you've got these four punks with weird hair and tattoos and guns and ammo and bad attitudes. And they're all basically gearing up to go on some sort of jaunt with all of these guns. And I'm sitting there wondering, why am I being introduced to these characters? And why are these characters gearing up with guns? And honestly, for the next few pages, I have no idea because it all goes back and focuses on Yaira and her identity as Sally Rodell. So it isn't until quite a few pages later that we get reintroduced to these characters, and it's right in the middle of a stick-up of some sort. There are these. This security guard is basically at their mercy, and there's a truck behind the four miscreants. We have no idea what's in the truck, however, so that, of course, is leading me to wonder, why are they holding up this truck? And, it really shouldn't be a mystery because they tell us right in the next panel. But if you're entering in on a scene that you want your reader to understand, give that reader the information he needs up front. Make the bank logo on the truck visible from the get-go. Make their dialogue be about the fact that they are committing a bank robbery. Do something to indicate what the hell is going on. And not only what, but we've got a big question of who here, because I count in this scene 6 different individuals, and they're not always shown all in the same scenes. You've got one with a pink mohawk, one who's got like a double mohawk, you've got Stefania, of course, and then you've got a brown mohawk guy. And then you've got another guy with a mohawk, but because he doesn't wear a jacket like the other two, I'm thinking he's totally different. And then you've got spiky-haired guy. So I'm looking at 6 distinct characters, and there's even a 7th if you go back to the original page introducing them all. And, well, I mean, some of these characters didn't even appear in that page, but there was this other 7th guy who is not featured in either of these panels. So I'm looking at this wondering, why is it we can't tell how many robbers there are? Because, spoiler warning, there is going to be a shootout, and it would help immensely if we knew how many robbers there were to take down. Then we would know in the course of guards versus robbers who was actually had the upper hand, who was winning the fight. So instead, we get all of a sudden a shot out of nowhere that completely obliterates this guy, takes him off the field. And instead of showing us immediately who shot the guy, we instead have this completely useless picture of Stefania just staring there. Instead of a useless panel focusing on this girl, on Stefania, why don't we get a view of whoever shot the guy? It's not supposed to be a mystery. It's another one of the security guards. We kind of know that from the fact that in the panel prior to that, Stefania intuits that there should be more than one guard. Moreover, that is the lamest freaking cursing I have ever seen. I mean, you've got her basically saying shit, 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 and that punctuation there is no mask for it. Why bother to punctuate the cursing at all when it's clear that she's saying shit, shit, shit? And moreover, why is she only saying shit, shit, shit and not cursing excitedly? You would think after she just saw one of her mates get shot in the head that she'd be a little more excited than just to say shit, shit, shit. So now we have a kind of panel by panel revelation of the guard. We know it's supposed to be a security guard. I mean, the only reason this kind of panel by panel revelation would make any sense is if it wasn't a security guard. So why is the other guard that we were expecting all along revealed piece by piece as if it's some kind of mystery? And then we have this scene where you have the guard shooting at Stefania as another guard is ducking over to the left and another guard is lying on the ground. Now hold on a second. I don't remember seeing that many guards. We've only been introduced to 2 guards so far. So you've got one guard, and you've got who was near the truck. You've got another guard who's near the truck, and now you've got the guard who's shooting. And I'm like, where the hell did we get another guard by the truck? It just popped out of nowhere. And now Stefania gets shot in the side. Now that's important because we're going to be asking a question about that later. But she gets shot in the side, and that reveals her powers. And then she winds up with the bullet that she was shot with in her hand. So apparently there's some heavy regenerative powers that she's just displayed. Except, now she's got a bullet hole in the front of her shirt. If Stefania was shot in the side, why is there a bloody bullet hole in the front of her shirt? Now, you could try to rationalize this and say that, well, bullets don't always travel in a straight line. But if the answer to number 10 is because the bullet entered her side, but ricocheted and came out her stomach, why is she holding the bullet when her hands had been in no position to catch it? Look at where her hands are. One's holding a gun, the other is behind her. She's in no position to catch the bullet that she's holding now. Now we transition over to a quick glimpse at another scene. Trouble is brewing for Mick Davies and the local Florespark police. Now, in case any of you don't recognize Mick Davies is someone who was introduced to us all the way back in ISOM number 1. He's the guy to whom was shown the cell phone showing that Yaira was back in town. Now, we didn't know his name was Mick Davies at the time, and we also didn't know his rank. We still don't know his rank. Why aren't we told what position Mick Davies holds in the police department? I mean, for God's sakes, you actually went back and introduced the guy by name, but you don't introduce him by rank? Now we've got Secure the Alpha. Now we're actually pulling stuff from the live trailer. If anybody's seen the live trailer, we have segued into the live trailer at this point. And we've got the Solari, please save us! That was acted by Jen or Sylvia Soska, whichever of the Soska sisters played that role in the trailer. And this has actually been bothering me ever since the live-action trailer. Why is some unidentified person shouting, Solari, please save us, as if Solari has super hearing? I mean, is that even a power in his wheelhouse? Alpha Core will be here in 5 minutes. Hold the line. 5 minutes? Thanks for the heads up. And now we have the artist breaking in the same way that the trailer did it, breaking the 180-degree rule. The 180-degree rule basically says if you've got 2 characters, one on the left and one on the right, you can play around with the angles, but you never want to get to the point where you've gone 180 degrees and now the character that was on the left is now on the right, and the character that was on the right is now on the left. So I have to ask this one directly to art director Kanan White. To Kanan White, I say, how is it that you allowed the artist to break the 180-degree rule by having Yaira approach right to left, but attack left to right? And what's even worse is that on the next page, it happens again. You have Stefania gearing up right to left and then delivering the blow left to right. Kanan White, I ask again, why are you allowing your artist to break the 180-degree rule? So now we get these three characters who are in pursuit of Yaira. Apparently, Stefania's energy release has alerted them to Yaira's presence, and now they are here to take her to some sort of justice or something. But who the hell are they? You know, when Yaira was confronted with Alpha Core in ISOM number 1, we actually got Alpha Core's names given to us right there. Why aren't the writers giving us these characters' names now? Alpha Core, Braxwell, Brian Solari, Ingrid Valdez, this was nothing that was revealed in dialogue. This was just basically told us so that we could identify these characters. Why isn't the same thing happening in that prior panel where the three new characters in Yaira are introduced? Now we have Yaira looking up at them, and now she looks down and away. And I have no freaking idea why. Why is she looking away from them? Is it shame? You know, why does she look away? Is it shame, or is she trying to keep an eye on Stefania? I don't know, because we didn't see Stefania in the panel, so we have no idea why it is she looked away. And now we've got a second dialogue balloon coming from somebody. Now, obviously, it's from one of the other two participants who were hovering with this woman up here in the panel, but we don't know which one, because we haven't yet seen how Magus Nuamite, his dialogue boxes don't look like the other two's dialogue boxes. This is actually coming from the character Yantony, and we don't know that, though. So why is it that the person who says the second bit of dialogue isn't clearly identified? Then we have the fight ensue, and we have Yaira thrown into a car, except it looks like the car is thrown up into the air first so that she can crash into it. What the hell? Why does it look like the car hopped up to meet Yaira in the air? So now we have Magus Nuamite, and he's teleported in behind Stefania, and she's oblivious to him, so he could just take her out, except she goes down to a parking garage where there's a car, and she breaks into the car, and then Magus Nuamite attacks her. Why does Magus Nuamite wait until Stefania's in a car to attack her? Then Yaira charges at Magus Nuamite. If you want her, you're going to have to go through me. Okay, which of these dialogue balloons comes next? And it's not really all that clear. Why aren't the dialogue balloons sequenced better to ensure the reader reads them in the correct order? Wouldn't take much. You just move the black one, the black dialogue balloon up so that it breaks a little into the frame, and that way we know that that's the dialogue that's supposed to come next. Then we have Yantony delivering a serious kick to Yaira, and we know it's a serious kick because it literally has the sound effect kick. Dear Lord, why in the world does the artist think kick is an acceptable sound effect? Now we've got Alpha Core entering the scene. We've got Brian Solari watching the fight on the monitor, and Ingrid Valdez walks in and says, that's Yaira, but who's with her? There's three with her energy signature output detected here, and one other unknown. Now, the three she's talking about are Yaira herself, and the Yantony and Yanessa characters, and then the other unknown one is Magus Nuamite. And Brian Solari says, no, there were four. The other one got away. Like, what? There were four what? There were four unknowns? Or there were four with Yaira's energy signature? And then he says the other one got away. I mean, that's a little bit clear, but not very. And I'm just, why can't Solari be specific about what he means by there were four? I mean, it just makes sense to say there were four with Yaira's energy signature. The other one got away. But, God forbid we should have clarity. Next, Ingrid Valdez says their power levels are unprecedented. Do we engage? And Solari all of a sudden becomes a strategist here. No, not with them. I have a feeling that if we get the one that escaped, we won't have to chase after Yaira. She'll come right to us. Okay, alright. When did this happen? When did this change in Solari's character happen? Why is Brian Solari a strategist in Yaira number 1 and a bullheaded dope in Alpha Core number 1 who doesn't have even the common sense to not take on face-to-face, hand-to-hand somebody who his powers can't even protect him against? I mean, this guy just charges in and thinks his strength is going to do it, not realizing that the other guy is hellishly strong as well, and he just gets his ass kicked right away because he doesn't know how to use any kind of subtlety. And suddenly, the guy's acting like he's the grand mastermind in Yaira number 1. So now we have Magus Nuamite grabbing Yaira with a handful of sand, saying, "To think you could have seen home one last time." And then Yaira says, "This is my home!" Why is home emphasized? Okay? This is my home, or this is my home. Why does she put the emphasis on home rather than this or is? I mean, do people even, is anyone even reading this book to figure out how the dialogue sounds? And now Yaira plays her ace in the hole. She's got a lighter, and she's going to throw it onto a big oil patch. And it's going to blow up, and it's going to throw off her pursuers. But question, why does she have a lighter? Does she smoke? Because I haven't seen any prior panel showing Dr. Sally Rodell smoking, wanting to light up maybe in the clean room of Projexus and toss a few ashes around. Why is Yaira carrying a lighter? People don't just carry lighters. That doesn't happen. God, I mean, it's such common sense. Now we transition to a nursing home, kind of abrupt transition, but you blow up an oil field, that buys you an abrupt transition. That's fine. And you got a Mexican Indian woman who's in there. She's got her ceremonial dress and what have you going. And there's another woman in there who is getting billed $20 for a pack of Q-tips, and I'm just like, why is this scene here? If this is supposed to be comedy relief, this isn't funny. Why are we being shown some random old woman getting bilked in a nursing home? It just looks cruel. So now Yaira walks into the nursing home. She signs herself in, and then she goes directly to the room of the woman who is in the wheelchair, and the Mexican Indian woman recognizes her as Yaira. And then she basically says, "Oh, you're mistaken, old woman." And she says, "My name is Carmen Martinez, but you know that, don't you, El Dios Femenino?" Well, of course she does, because if you sign into a nursing home, you're actually signing in to go see a specific person. Anybody in the nursing home who comes to visit her is going to know her name. Why does Yaira even pretend not to know this old woman when Yaira had to sign in specifically to see her? You don't get to just walk into a nursing home and go around and say hi to all the old people. Not unless you're like part of a charity group or something and you've scheduled the whole thing beforehand. Or maybe you're an entertainer of some sort. But even then you don't get to go to these people's rooms. I mean, good God. Yaira had to know this woman's name in order to sign in to see her. So then this woman starts telling the story of Yaira to Yaira. And Yaira says, "Well, do you know what happened next?" And the woman does, and she whispers it in Yaira's ear. Why is the old woman whispering as if there's someone else in the room who might overhear? Or is she pulling a Deadpool moment where she realizes there's a fourth wall full of readers out there, and it's like, oh, I tell you, but they are going to overhear. And it's like, who's they? It's like, oh, all of the readers. Last but not least, suddenly we're in a palace. Oh my God, suddenly we're in a palace. We were in a nursing home, mind you, listening to this woman tell her story to Yaira, and now we're in a palace. We're in Yaira's palace, where there's all these ancient artifacts and alien artifacts and stuff like that. And how did we get here? And moreover, now this woman is saying, please, Yaira, don't let anything happen to Stefania. When the hell was Stefania even mentioned in all of the prior stuff? What happened? Is there a page missing? There is a page missing, isn't there? Why is there a whole goddamn page missing from this book that shows us how the women went from the nursing home to Yaira's home and talked about Stefania's condition? Because there had to have been some page in there that just got completely ass dropped. Oh my God, this is worse than ISOM number 1. Do you remember ISOM number 1? Where we had this famous panel. This was one of the preview panels, and we finally got to see it in action in the book, only to see it followed immediately by this panel? Like, what the fuck happened? And this stuff is 10 times worse. They're in a nursing home, and suddenly they're in a palace. No intervening transition whatsoever. This is so bad. This is so freaking bad. Okay, at this point, I can call it. Yaira number 1 is freaking garbage, okay? This is a garbage book that is still probably better than ISOM number 2. I don't know. I'm going to have to read it the rest of the way through to find out. But I can call it already. I mean, there's nothing that's going to stop this from being a bad book. I mean, I will let you know if I change my mind. But for the meantime, I'm just basically saying this is a crap book. This book has no editing going on for it at all. They have 4 editors on this book, and none of them are worth a shit. I cannot believe that they let this kind of stuff go to print. This is embarrassing. How is Eric not embarrassed? You know how he's not embarrassed? Because he's got 10,000 psychophants who will buy his shit and just tell him whatever he wants to hear about it. This is not a good book. What the hell is anybody doing giving this book a good review? This is amateur hour shit. And I have to read this. God damn. I'm not picking up Bloodruth. I know the Soskas sisters are writing Bloodruth too. I'm not picking that book up. Fuck that. Fuck that right up and down. I can't take this. I can't take reading shit book after shit book for so many times. I can only stand so much, guys. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, and I've still got about 60 pages of Yaira number 1 to go. Oh, this is gonna be brutal. I hope this is the last video I do on this. I hope that I can just basically make a YouTube short telling you that the book was just crap from here on out. Because I don't want to do any more of this. I just don't. This is the kind of book that just drains your will to live. Oh my God. Honestly, at this point, I am questioning. Somebody actually asked, and I think I might have brought this up in a prior video. Someone actually asked, did the Soska sisters really write Black Widow No Restraints play? Or did they give a basic outline of their idea, and maybe there were Marvel editors and Marvel, other writers, assistant writers that they had on hand, ghost writers maybe, that they had to flesh it out? Because I can believe that now. I thought that was being mean. I thought that was like, oh, come on, they did a decent job with Black Widow No Restraints play, that give them the credit that where credit's due. I'm not sure that credit is due them, because if they can put out a shit book like this that is so poorly written that it's unimaginable that somebody didn't edit this into some kind of, piece it together, that somebody must have edited the shit out of Black Widow No Restraints play. I don't see how a book at least as tolerable as Black Widow No Restraints play came from writers who are producing shit like this. This is bad. This is really bad. And Rippaverse is turning into a bigger embarrassment with each comic, and I'm starting to fear for Gooding at this point, except Mike Barron is enthusiastic about it. He seems to be, really feeling the vibe or something, so I will give Gooding a chance. I will do that. I will also give Horseman a chance. I will do that. Norfolka, I saw number 3. Those I'll buy. I'll review those. Bloodruth, fuck that. Not if the Soskas sisters are doing that. Don't expect me to do Yaira number 2 either. Oh god. There's just no freaking way. Not if they're writing it. Yeah. Wow. This book is, I would call this book hot garbage, but to call it hot in any way is to oversell it. This is tepid garbage that just basically drags you out of the story with almost every panel, where you have to ask yourself, why the fuck did they write it like this? Why is it drawn like this? Why do these characters do what they do? Why does this, how is that even there? You know, I'm just royally disgusted. I don't know what to tell you other than that. All right, thank you for listening to this rant. I mean, I didn't expect I was just going to go off on a rant or a tirade like that. But God, does this book deserve it? Because this book is the epitome of what you don't want to see in a comic. You don't want to see just fumble after fumble after fumble of the basics of storytelling. Okay. Ugh. I've spent entirely too long on this freaking video. Entirely too long on this freaking comic, and I still got 60 pages to go, I think. Oh, this is so bad. This is so bad. Alright. Okay, this can't be all that entertaining for y'all. I'm making you watch a blank this title card while I freaking fall apart into insanity from having read this stupid book. I mean, trust me, this is one of those books where I honestly hope that I'm reading it so you don't have to. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Mike Partika. And we'll see whether or not I crank out another Yaira number 1 video after this. This may be the last one. I just don't know if anything that I can bring to bear on this book is going to be worth it after all of the crap that I've seen. I mean, there's a point at which you just feel like I can't really pull this out of the cesspit, and but we'll see. Who knows? There may be room for a few more videos. I'll see if that's the case. Anyway, thanks again. Please do subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later.